Hello, Peter the Cat here. About a year ago, I made a video on the Alex Jones store, and in that video I said that I don't think people should be restricted sharing Alex Jones's content as long as it's within the TOS, and I don't think restricting Alex Jones is the solution because it might just trigger a backlash and, strike Sand effect and give him more attention. Well, since I made that video, last August, Alex Jones has now been banned from YouTube and several other sites for hate speech. This banning was triggered when in July, Alex Jones made a video reacting to the RuPaul cartoon Drag Tots, and then went on this crazy rant saying that drag queens are leading children to hell, and then threatened that they would be consumed with fire.
And we're putting chemicals in the water to help with everything, and it's gonna get a lot easier from here on out to bring down this third dimension down to us. We're gonna destroy you. You will ascend to hell in the reverse order. And they now know fear, because we're coming like the villagers in the night with the torches burning bright with fire. Fire is not the weapon of evil. Fire is the weapon of good, and it will consume you.
Later that month, after several complaints, Facebook gave Jones a 30-day suspension, while YouTube removed the Drag Tots video and several other videos they considered anti-Islamic. And then in August, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and even YouPorn all removed Alex Jones completely, and Twitter followed suit in September. I have to admit, while I'm not totally comfortable with this, I don't feel sorry for Alex Jones. Not one damn bit. I mean, he's a scam artist, and if you watch Thunderfoot's video on Alex Jones, Alex Jones saying stuff like, Robert Mueller is a pedophile, that violates the YouTube terms of service already, so it's like, Alex Jones was already breaking the rules and everything, so I'm gonna celebrate. Celebrate good time, come on! But wait! The YouTube free speech community objects. YouTube users like Sargon of Akkad are very concerned, because if YouTube can come down on Alex Jones for hate speech, then what's to stop them from going after other creators like him? This video is going to be a response to the videos Sargon has made about Alex Jones. First they came for Alex Jones, and a couple of his follow-up videos, so I apologize if this gets confusing because I'm responding to multiple videos he's made. Sargon says he's defending Alex Jones because he wants to stand up for free speech. However, Sargon also says he hasn't actually watched any of Alex Jones's videos.
I'm not sure, though, because to be honest with you, I don't watch his content. And again, this is not coming from someone who ever listened to Alex Jones's podcast or anything. I just enjoyed the memes.
And I wanted to make this video response because while Sargon is defending Alex Jones, he says a lot of things about Jones that are just completely misinformed, and I wanted to set the record straight, so let's get started. Sargon opens his video by explaining the situation that YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Facebook all banned Alex Jones at the same time early in the morning without warning for hate speech against Muslims and migrants. And Sargon points the finger at Twitter groups like Sleeping Giants, saying that these progressives are putting pressure on YouTube and other sites to get rid of anyone they consider hateful.
The deliberately vague wording of social media guidelines with respect to hate speech and violent content is being used to censor Jones. Hate speech is an identifiable expression of far-left ideology. Alex Jones is being mass-flagged by activists and has been for some time. But this barely improves the social media platforms, as now they are the arbiter of progressive morality on the internet. And I am absolutely certain that the Overton window of acceptable, not hateful content will continue to shrink over time. What this means is that progressively minded Twitter mobs are now controlling what you are able to lawfully see and hear in accordance to their own moral sensibilities and probably in violation of yours. They are dominating these platforms with their hate speech policies against our free speech policies, and for some reason these platforms are capitulating.
And Sargon suspects that this is being done in order to influence the midterm elections. It's like Sargon views SJWs as the screenslaver from The Incredibles. If the ultimate goal of YouTube and all these other websites is to control the content people can see so then they can influence the midterms to go back to the Democrats, they're not doing a very good job at it. Facebook, for example, has dragged its feet to restrict Holocaust denial material being posted to their website. And YouTube has had its own issues, like LGBT people, during Pride Month, there were complaints about their videos being demonetized or getting strikes for just talking about trans issues. And there was also the issue anti-gay and anti-trans ads were being played on their videos, and that upset a lot of people. And speaking of ads, I often get conservative ads on videos of any political persuasion. Here's some from Gavin McInnes talking about manspreading. I didn't know that was an issue on trains. I've never gotten a complaint like that on the BART train when I take a ride on there. I even got a couple on Sargon's videos when I was watching them. Sargon also criticizes Twitter for allowing Sarah Chong to make anti-white tweets, while Candace Owens makes the same tweets but replaces white people with Jews and gets punished for it. And I actually will agree with Sargon, that is inconsistent of Twitter. However, I can cite some counterexamples. Here's Kevin Logan tweeting about how Music Man Mike had their Twitter restricted after they made a kill all white people joke. No idea if the New York Times is going to hire Mike next. Here's another guy saying a friend of theirs had their Twitter restricted after they criticized TERFs. And there's articles criticizing Twitter for not suspending Richard Spencer, and I've seen some YouTube videos criticizing the alt-right or Holocaust denialism get flagged or downvoted by alt-right trolls. And while I was making this video, Richard Coughlin had a video debunking the Protocols of Zion taken down after 2 hours, despite the fact that he's opposing anti-Semitism. So I actually will agree with Sargon that the way YouTube and Twitter enforce the rules are pretty inconsistent and messed up. However, it affects both liberals and conservatives. And if Sargon is worried about the midterm being affected, I think Donald Trump's own shitty behavior, like denying 3,000 people died in Puerto Rico, is going to have a bigger influence on the midterm than whatever happens on YouTube or Twitter, or whether people decide to listen to the opinions of a guy in Britain that pretends to be an Acadian king versus the opinions of a California cat like myself. Sargon talks about how important and influential Alex Jones is among Trump supporters.
Alex Jones is a huge supporter of Donald Trump. Donald Trump went on his show. Millions of people were exposed to Donald Trump because of Alex Jones, and then they just can him in a day.
And he feels that's partly the reason why they have to defend Alex Jones, because he's an ally in their fight against the mainstream media and progressives and SJWs. But that raises some questions in my mind, Sargon, like, what do you think it says about Donald Trump that he feels he has to appeal to people that think vaccines cause autism, water fluoridation is dangerous, Obama's a Kenyan, and FEMA death camps will kill us? You do acknowledge that a lot of what Alex Jones says is bullshit, but does it concern you at all that a lot of Donald Trump supporters look up to Alex Jones and thinks the stuff he says is real? One of Sargon's biggest issues with YouTube is how they considered Alex Jones's videos to be hate speech against Muslims and migrants. And he says this across several videos of his, that he thinks it's ridiculous that progressives would consider Alex Jones's conspiracies hateful or racist.
I'm absolutely certain that Alex Jones isn't some sort of racist, hate monger or anything like that. He's a conspiracy theorist, and there are a lot of people who are conspiracy theorists, and most of them aren't bad people, they're just poorly informed. Let's be clear, Alex Jones is not a Nazi, he's a libertarian. He's like a constitutionalist conspiracy theorist. And he says stupid shit on his show. All of these companies are taking an ideological stand against Alex Jones, and it's not because he is a Nazi. It's because he opposes what they do. He opposes globalism. He opposes open borders. He opposes social justice. He opposes intersectionality. Alex Jones doesn't even swear.
Alex Jones doesn't even swear. Donald Trump shit his fucking pants at the fucking moment of truth and shit all over everybody.
Conspiracy theories aren't hate content, you lunatics. They're just ridiculous. They're not hate content as far-left ideology would define it. But you are lumping them in because you just want to persecute Jones. Because he has an agenda that opposes your agenda.
Now remember how Sargon said he doesn't actually watch Alex Jones's videos? This is where his lack of research will really bite him in the ass. I decided to look at some of the conspiracies that InfoWars has posted over the years, and are they hateful? Here's a spoiler. Yes! Let's look at a couple right now. I'm going to be looking at both InfoWars and some of their sister websites like Propaganda Matrix, which is really old, and, of course, Prison Planet.
Yeah, Alex Jones's conspiracies aren't hateful, as long as you ignore things like the multiple times he spouted off about the Jewish mafia and saying that Israel has too much control over America and had a hand in 9/11.
I mean, it's not enough that Israeli government runs the company that does 98% of caller ID and phone tracking in the nation. That's been mainstream news. Is it not enough that Israel has the sole contract to, quote, guard the nuclear weapons? Our own government doesn't even have control of them. Is it not enough that Israel had fingerprints all over 9/11?
Or the time he reacted to the first Unite the Right rally in 2017, claiming racist demonstrators he's seen over the years were just Jewish actors faking anti-Semitism, and one of the lawsuits against him right now is an ex-InfoWars employee alleging Jones harassed him for being Jewish. You also have to ignore at one time, before Paul Joseph Watson started denouncing racist websites like the Daily Stormer and saying he doesn't believe in any Jewish conspiracies, that he used to dabble in nutty conspiracies about Israel creating its own Muslim enemies, and citing 9/11 truther Alan Hart that the Israeli Mossad had foreknowledge of 9/11. You also have to ignore how Alex Jones used to invite several fundamentalist Christians to write for InfoWars and its sister sites that had very wacky views on Jews and Zionists. For example, Henry Macau, a Jewish convert to Christianity, who wrote articles saying Zionists manipulated the Nazis in order to create Israel, and that the Protocols of Zion are real and tie in with other conspiracies like Bohemian Grove and the Illuminati. There's also Christian evangelist Tex Mars, who wrote articles saying Jews control the media and the government, and that the Talmud instructs Jews to hate Christians and Jesus. Yeah, show me any ancient religious text that doesn't say nasty things about non-believers. On his website, he also believes Jews and Freemasons worship pagan gods, and that the Antichrist will be a Jew. And his online store sells CDs on Holocaust denial, copies of the Protocols, and Martin Luther's on the Jews and their lies.
So in Tex Mars's mind, when the Talmud says Jews can mistreat Christians, that's evil, but when Martin Luther says that Christians ought to burn Jewish homes, synagogues, and books, that's okay and worthy of being sold?
Last but not least, we also have Christian evangelist Ted Pike, who also believes Jews control the media and that the Antichrist will be a Jew, as outlined in his 1987 movie The Other Israel. Between 2008 and 2009, Pike wrote a few articles on InfoWars fearing the supposed Jewish media will indoctrinate people to prosecute Christians who teach the Jews killed Jesus and homosexuality is a sin. And yet, 10 years later, preachers like Steven Anderson, who are extremely anti-gay and anti-Jewish, are still free men. To be fair, Jones probably doesn't agree with everything these preachers have said, like Mars's Holocaust denialism, and Macau has turned on Jones in recent years due to Jones changing his views and becoming more pro-Israel. But still, you'd think if Jones is going to portray himself as someone that does the tough research, oh, I got the documents, I got the inside sources, you'd think he'd use more discretion before publishing someone that says the bogus protocols of Zion are real.
Anyway, let's move on from Jewish conspiracies to Catholic conspiracies. As you'll see in a moment, Alex Jones has a very Jack Chick view of the Catholic Church.
Now, my artist GuineaPigDan did once draw Richard Dawkins arresting former Pope Benedict XVI. However, that was a joke, and there's a difference between mocking the Pope and saying the Pope is a satanic agent of the New World Order. Jones used to sell a Protestant DVD entitled A Lamp in the Dark that promotes conspiracies of the Pope trying to set himself up as a god on Earth and the Vatican controlling the EU. The makers of this DVD, Adalem Films, also have a website where you can buy other documentaries that claim the Jesuits created Marxism. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense the Catholic Church would create a philosophy that says religion is the opiate of the masses. Sargon also has to overlook how InfoWars has ramped up their anti-Catholicism since Pope Francis was elected, posting nonsensical articles claiming he converted to Islam, he declared himself the Antichrist. Yeah, InfoWars authors can't decide whether a Jew or a Catholic will be the Antichrist. He's a communist, and he's a pawn of the New World Order pushing for a one-world religion. Yeah, a religious organization that's incapable of covering up priests diddling altar boys is surely competent enough to take over the world. And of course, typical Protestant fear-mongering over the Jesuits, like calling the head of the Jesuits
The Black Pope.
A name that sounds scary, but is really just a joke nickname based on his dark clothes. Alex Jones also cites so-called experts, like alleged ex-Illuminati Leo Zagami, to write about Vatican issues. Pope Francis will resign in 2016? Yeah, that didn't happen. Zagami is probably as credible as other liars for Jesus, like John Todd, who claimed they used to be Satanists or Illuminati before they found Christ.
Now let's move on to Alex Jones's homophobia and transphobia. Now while InfoWars will post articles criticizing radical Muslims, killing gay people, that doesn't excuse how Alex Jones will often pander to fundamentalist Christians who are like very homophobic.
Jones likes to connect homosexuality with Satanism and depravity, for example claiming that the world leaders attending Bohemian Grove not only worship pagan gods and manipulate world events, but also engage in the most depraved homosexual acts imaginable behind closed doors.
You know, now that I think about it, that's not too different from what happens at most furry conventions.
He also claims not only is the government turning frogs gay with chemicals in the water, but also turning human children gay with chemicals in juice boxes.
But the reason there's so many gay people now is because it's a chemical warfare operation. I have the government documents where they said they're going to encourage homosexuality with chemicals so that people don't have children. I even catch myself, Bob, drinking out of these estrogen mimickers. Because after you're done drinking your little juices, well, you're ready to go out and have a baby. You're ready to put makeup on. You're ready to wear a short skirt. You're ready to go, put together, a garden of roses or something. You're ready to put lipstick on. Look.
He also makes slippery slope arguments like gay rights will lead to pedo rights and people having sex with their cars. And for several years, based on a joke Joan Rivers once made, Jones has claimed that Michelle Obama is either transgender or has a genetic disorder that makes her look more masculine.
I mean, she looks more like Shaquille O'Neal than a black woman. When you see her in a bathing suit, man, it looks like a man. And there are the photos of she's either keeping a banana in her pants. I mean, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Or she's a man.
If the media can drudge up old drama about Melania Trump's immigration status and publicize countless nude photos of her, then you'd think they'd be able to track down old friends or family of Michelle Obama, remembering she was once a man, or find video or photos of Michelle taking hormone injections. Oh, and about a month after he went apeshit over drag tots, Alex Jones was caught with trans porn on his phone. So remember that next time you see Watson or anyone else on InfoWars complain about how over-sexualized culture is becoming.
I wonder what kind of porn Paul Joseph Watson looks at.
Soy boys!
I think I figured it out. That's an advantage to being a furry. Like, if there's ever a time, like, I accidentally have a tab on my computer open something adult, it won't matter because you already know that I'm a freak. Now let's look at InfoWars on Muslims and migrants, the other category that got Alex Jones in trouble. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this section's getting long. You got the usual stuff like Obama's a closet Muslim, but it gets even crazier than this.
Here's Leo Zagami again, this time writing about the Kalergi Plan, a supposed plan drafted in the 1920s to flood Europe with migrants. When Zagami talks about some European right-wing circles here, he should have clarified these right-wing circles tend to be white supremacists, such as Nick Griffin, former leader of the BNP or British National Party.
Godfather of the European Union, Richard Curtis
Gordon of Kalergi, published the plan for a united Europe and the ethnocide of the peoples of Europe, the encouragement of mass non-white immigration was central to the plot. Since then, an unholy alliance of leftists, capitalists and Zionist supremacists has schemed to promote immigration and miscegenation with the deliberate aim of breeding us out of existence in our own homelands. But the real aim stays the same: the biggest genocide in human history, the final solution of the Christian European problem.
And searching Kalergi plan on YouTube brings up tons of white supremacist videos saying it's a Jewish plot to race mix and breed white Europeans out of existence.
I'm absolutely certain that Alex Jones isn't some sort of racist. Conspiracy theories aren't hate content, you lunatics.
From the number of videos you can see here, you can see how effective YouTube is at censoring right-wing opinions. Zagami's article doesn't blame Jews outright, though. Instead, he blames the Freemasons and the Rothschilds banking family, two groups that are often connected with Jewish conspiracies. Oh, and Sargon once said he believes in the Rothschilds conspiracy, not knowing its anti-Semitic connotations. And of course, Zagami also blames the Catholic Church. What is it with certain anti-Catholics who think the Catholic Church and Muslims are on the same team? Another example, during Jones's interview with Donald Trump in 2015, Jones tried to defend Trump's factually dubious claim that Muslims in New Jersey cheered 9/11 by citing sources like Dan Rather on David Letterman.
On the radical Muslims celebrating not just in New Jersey, but New York, Palestine, all over. What do you have to say? They're still attacking you, though we've got Dan Rather on video, we've got New York Post, we've got Washington Post.
But if you actually watch said clip, Dan Rather says these reports were unverified.
Are these people happy? Are they joyous now? Are they celebrating?
Oh, absolutely. They're
Thank
celebrating.
God.
There's one report. This has not been confirmed, but there's several live reports that there was a cell, one of these cells, across the Hudson River. And they got on the, this is the report, I emphasize, I don't know this for a fact, but there's several witnesses who say this happened. They got on the roof of the building to look across. They knew what was going to happen. Yeah. They were waiting for it to happen, and when it happened, they celebrated.
This has not been confirmed, but I don't know this for a fact.
Now, back in 2010, Paul Joseph Watson wrote that these men cheering 9/11 were Mossad agents and is proof Israel had foreknowledge of 9/11. But to support Donald Trump 5 years later, they flip-flopped and said they were Muslims. Jones and Watson will modify their conspiracies when it suits them. For a much more thorough debunking of this claim, see this Washington Post article, which addresses their earlier report from 2001, and this PolitiFact article, which covers the New York Post article Jones alluded to.
I can cite more examples, but I gotta stop somewhere. I just want to show that when Sargon tells his viewers, oh, Alex Jones and his conspiracies aren't hateful, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't done the research into what Alex Jones actually says, or the types of writers that he hires. And I think I've shown that there's a lot of stuff that even conservatives would hate. I don't think a Jewish conservative like Ben Shapiro would agree with the stuff Henry Macau writes about, oh, Zionists manipulate the Nazis and the protocols are real. And if you search InfoWars and Catholicism on the web, you'll find many Catholics who are unhappy with Alex Jones and what he says about the Catholic Church. So it's not just liberals who dislike Alex Jones, there's conservatives who don't like him too. And it just gets worse. Sargon next takes Alex Jones' lawyer saying, oh, Alex Jones is just an act, and takes it completely at face value.
Make no mistake, Alex Jones is the canary in the coal mine. His lawyer admitted during his divorce proceedings that Alex Jones is a character. Alex Jones is a satire, a pastiche of a news reporter, of a crazed right-wing conspiracy theory radio host. Alex Jones is deliberately fake news, and he uses his platform to say things that otherwise probably shouldn't be said, and in fact act as a worthy benchmark for the rest of us to know when we are also going off the rail.
Hey Sargon, your friend Paul Joseph Watson, who actually works for Alex Jones, he'd tell you you're wrong. Here's what Watson said on the Dave Rubin Show a year before this lawsuit occurred.
You know, a lot of people think that Alex Jones is a kind of act, that it's put on, this radio personality that he has. But if you meet him and you hang around with him, what you see is what you get. That's Alex Jones. He's like that all the time. It's not an act. He's not putting it on. You know, in private, in person, he's kind of more jovial and fun than his rants on the radio would suggest. But that's him. That's his personality. It's not an act.
But even if we ignore what Paul Joseph Watson said, like, just looking into this lawsuit just a little bit deeper, you'd see that Alex Jones' lawyer was full of shit. Just shortly after he made that statement, Alex Jones made a video on the steps of the courthouse saying he isn't a satire.
And that's why mainstream media is collapsing. That's why it's dying. And that's why you guys desperately sit there and say that I'm fake news or I'm an actor. When somebody asks, you know, if I'm in a movie, am I an actor? Am I a fake? No, when I'm playing a role in a movie, I'm playing that part. But when I'm politically speaking for something, I totally believe in it.
If Alex Jones is just an act, Sargon, then you'd also have to believe that Paul Joseph Watson, all the employees at InfoWars, including the former employees suing Alex Jones, and Alex Jones' ex-wife, Kelly, like, they're either all in on the joke, or they've been fooled also. I mean, seriously, Sargon, when Alex Jones risked getting arrested during the making of his NWO documentary, Endgame, you think that was just satire like Borat? Do you think when Alex Jones sells Supermale Vitality or other survival gear at high prices, he just wants buyers to think he's a joke? When Roger Stone arranged the interview between Donald Trump and Alex Jones, do you think that was just meant to be a giant prank on America? When Donald Trump repeats things he reads off InfoWars, like 3 million illegals voted in the election and that's why Hillary won the popular vote, that Alex Jones just intended that as a joke like The Onion? Seriously, Sargon, you're not thinking things through. And guess what? Sargon's research still continues to get worse. In another video, he says that Alex Jones recanted Sandy Hook trutherism.
He's being sued by the Sandy Hook parents. They're probably going to win. He's probably going to have to give them a lot of money. That's what justice is going to look like. So why do we need to continue hurting the man? Especially after he has apologised and recanted what he said.
Sargon probably believes this because this is what Paul Joseph Watson told him in a live stream 3 days before Alex Jones was banned from YouTube.
They played 6 videos in court of Alex Jones specifically saying Sandy Hook happened as they said it did, and by the way, don't go and harass the parents, that's horrible. Yeah. His lawyers played 6 videos in court. There were 20 journalists in court. How many reported on it in the media? 0 reported.
Since Alex Jones' channel is gone, I have no idea where to find these 6 videos Watson is talking about, so if anyone can find them, I'd appreciate that. However, what I was able to find was on April 17th, supposedly Alex Jones did accept that the Sandy Hook shootings happened and apologized to the parents.
I got to watch one of the Sandy Hook parents say that I say nobody died there, despite the fact I had been saying for at least 3 years before that I believe people died there. They filed 2 lawsuits for the families of the victims of Sandy Hook, who are public figures, who are anti-gun spokespersons, and now they're anti-free speech spokespersons, who keep going out saying Alex Jones keeps saying our kids didn't die. He needs to retract it. He needs to apologize. And then 4 years ago, I'm saying I believe your children died, and I apologize for any pain you've gone through. And I show Megyn Kelly that, and it doesn't go in the show because they're never going to drop it.
However, I have to call bullshit on this apology for 2 reasons. Number 1, Alex Jones said this in response to the lawsuits being filed, so he's saying this under pressure. And number 2, Alex Jones constantly lies and backtracks about what he said about Sandy Hook previously, going, oh, I never really said this stuff, I was just asking questions.
But clearly, these lawsuits aren't intended to win. They're intended to put out the false statements again that I'm saying nobody died there. And no matter how many times I tell the news that or say it, they still say, Jones says nobody died. And they'll show some little edited 3-second clip. And then Megyn Kelly wouldn't even let me answer the question straight. And they act like they've got me over to barrel that, ooh, this is the weak spot. About a year after Sandy Hook, when we had big debates about it and the anomaly, said, you know what, I think people died there. Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured. I couldn't believe it at first. I knew they had actors there, clearly, but I thought they killed some real kids. And it just shows how bold they are that they clearly used actors.
He probably hopes people forgot this article too. Alex Jones started out by saying that Sandy Hook was a total hoax and it's just a plot to take away our guns. But then when he started getting criticism for it, he softened his views and was more like, I don't know what really happened. Maybe a couple kids did die, but there's still tons of weird anomalies like Anderson Cooper's nose disappearing, tapes looking like they were looped, and parents look like they're acting. So while Jones may have backed down from saying no kids died, it's not a very meaningful distinction because he kept trying to cast doubt on the events of the shooting.
I don't want to believe it's a false flag. I don't know if kids really got killed, but you got green screen with Anderson Cooper, where I was watching the video and the flowers and plants are blowing in some of them, and then they blow again the same way. It's looped, and then his nose disappears. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's fake. The whole thing is just, I don't know what happened. It's kind of like you see a hologram at Disney World in the haunted house. You know, I don't know how they do it, but it's not real. If children were lost in Sandy Hook, my heart goes out to each and every one of those parents and the people that say they're parents that I see on the news. The only problem is I've watched a lot of soap operas, and I've seen actors before. And I know when I'm watching a movie, I know when I'm watching something real. Even that day, I'll go back from memory, then saying, but then some of it looks like it's real. But then what do you do when they've got the kids going in circles in and out of the building with their hands up? I've watched the footage, and it looks like a drill. I tend to believe that children probably did die there. But then you look at all the other evidence on the other side, I can see how other people believe that nobody died there.
And even in his apology video from April, Alex Jones still continues to push conspiracies about Sandy Hook, so he's still a Sandy Hook truther. Just because he says maybe a couple kids might have died, that doesn't change the fact that Alex Jones is still trying to cast suspicion over Sandy Hook. Ooh, there's all these weird anomalies, something fishy must be going on.
They didn't issue a police report on Sandy Hook until last year. I've got that in my stack. Now, I don't know what that means, but it's weird. No emergency helicopters dispatched. Weird. The school torn down. Weird. The school closed the year before but reopened and totally dirty and filthy and mold everywhere. Weird. The whole thing's weird. And that's not defamation.
So I don't buy this as Alex Jones genuinely recanting Sandy Hook trutherism. He's just trying to save his own ass, and he's doing a terrible job at that too. If Alex Jones actually felt sorry for what he'd said, then he'd be owning up to it rather than trying to cast blame everywhere else. Oh, the mainstream media misrepresented what I'd said, or it was other conspiracy theorists who were putting pressure on me, basically trying to blame everyone but himself. And it turns out Alex Jones was trying to delete videos and social media posts he made about Sandy Hook that the court was trying to investigate as evidence in his defamation suit. If Jones is innocent as Watson claims, why would Alex Jones have to do that? Ironic coming from someone who's constantly going on about, oh, government cover-ups everywhere. As for Watson's claim that Jones told people not to harass the parents, well, that's hollow also, because in 2015, Alex Jones let one of his contributors, Rob Dew, drop 2 addresses associated with Leonard Posner's organization, the Honor Network, and this was done in retaliation for Posner taking down his false story about his son Noah dying a second time in a school shooting in Pakistan. Jones then threatened he might investigate these locations in person.
What's interesting is they list the address for the Honor Network, and you look up the address on that, which says it is the address for a. So here's the. There is no suite, but it's got 2 different buildings listed that address. So there's millions of dollars of money pouring into there. You think, if they had this organization, they would have some sort of headquarters where they would be setting up a memorial.
Well, we'll just start investigating that. And I guess I'm going to have to probably go on up to Newtown. I'm going to have to probably go investigate Florida as well.
And this isn't the only time Alex Jones has gone after Leonard Posner's personal information. During the defamation lawsuit, Jones's lawyer tried to invoke a Texas law that would require Leonard Posner to reveal his current home address. So while Alex Jones may have never said directly, go harass the parents, he's still engaging in behavior that would endanger them. Returning to Sargon's First They Came for Alex Jones video, sorry I'm bouncing around a lot again, Sargon makes a plea to his viewers to support Alex Jones, despite the bullshit he pushes, because he thinks it's important to support free speech and to oppose SJWs bullying him and trying to ruin Alex Jones' livelihood.
It is only a matter of time until it becomes commonplace to use these guidelines to shut down the enemies of progressivism. Very few people have a high opinion of Alex Jones, and with good reason. But no matter what your opinion of Alex Jones is, you must support his right to use these platforms, even if he says things that are offensive but not illegal, and even if he does things that seem silly, and even if he outright manufactures falsehoods.
Sargon likes to say that liberals are persecuting Alex Jones, and speaking of persecution, Sargon, let's go through some of the lawsuits against Alex Jones right now and see what the people suing Alex Jones have gone through. I already mentioned Leonard Posner, and he's had to move 7 times due to harassment from conspiracy theorists, and he's not able to visit the grave of his son Noah. We also have Marcel Fontaine from Massachusetts, who InfoWars misidentified as the Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz. And this got spread all over the internet, and it got so bad that a Republican representative fell for this hoax too, and of course Marcel got a lot of harassment. We also have Brandon Gilmore, the guy who filmed James Alex Fields ramming protesters with his car at last year's Unite the Right rally, and he was accused by InfoWars of being a CIA George Soros plant, with the goal of overthrowing Donald Trump.
One guy is paid $320,000 a year on the payroll of Soros. He doesn't just get money from Soros. He personally is paid $320 a year, and then he's their CIA State Department, and he's on the news. And then when people pointed out who he was, they took his name off the State Department website and stuff, but Google has all the shots of it. Oh, I saw him run over. Oh, I saw the racist. I saw the fight start. The white supremacist attacked. I'm the guy being interviewed first, putting out the talking points. This is the downfall of Trump. This is the beginning. It shows he worked for Podesta too. John Podesta. I'll give you his name and stuff coming up. We're going to play video of him on the news. And they had him first on every newscast. Just here he is. Bring him up. I'm just a witness, a standard by here. Yeah.
And of course, Gilmore got harassed. He lost friends and he even lost job opportunities. And I can't forget to mention how Alex Jones has mistreated his ex-wife, Kelly Jones. Kelly has called her ex-husband emotionally manipulative and a sellout for becoming one of Donald Trump's biggest propagandists, and she's currently trying to get full custody of their kids. I'd like to see you, Sargon, say with a straight face to Leonard Posner and everyone else suing Alex Jones right now, how Alex Jones is the real victim here. Oh, he's being persecuted by SJWs. He lost his YouTube, he lost his PayPal, he lost his Twitter, but he still has millions of fans around the world and Donald Trump listening to him. I mean, get real, Sargon. If you and your anti-SJW friends are gonna, lose your shit over James Damore getting fired from Google because he expressed opinions that people didn't like, then where are you defending Brendan Gilmore and all these other people suing Alex Jones because they had their lives ruined by him? Reading these court documents, Sargon, it looks to me more like YouTube and Twitter and all these other sites got rid of Alex Jones because he just became too much of a hot potato and they don't want him just throwing out wild accusations and defaming people and companies unabated. It doesn't have to do with the midterms. I mean, people who listen to Alex Jones, if they can't listen to him, they'll just find some other pundit with similar views and listen to them. Oh, and since Sargon is so concerned about free speech, maybe you should read this line about defamation in Brandon Gilmore's lawsuit against Alex Jones.
Had Mr. Gilmore known that he would be defamed with no recourse for sharing his footage, he would have had a powerful incentive to stay quiet, depriving the press and the public of an eyewitness account of an important event. Defamation law allows individuals thrust into the public light redress should untruths be spread and thus encourages them to come forward.
You see that, Sargon? The fake news that Alex Jones promotes actually hurts free speech. There might be people who are afraid to speak out against the alt-right because they're afraid that Alex Jones might create a conspiracy about them. Oh, they're a secret Antifa agent, or they're a false flag person. Alex Jones and Paul Joseph Watson don't give a shit about free speech or standing up to the mainstream media. They are scam artists. And let me be clear, when I call them scam artists, I don't mean they're scam artists in the way other conspiracy theorists opposed to InfoWars mean. Oh, Alex Jones and Paul Joseph Watson are controlled by Jews, or they're controlled by Jesuits, or they're disinformation agents for the NWO. No, I mean that Alex Jones is a scam artist in the same way that a person like Peter Popoff is a scam artist. Alex Jones exploits people's fear and paranoia to sell them bullshit and separate people from their money. This is why Alex Jones and Paul Joseph Watson flip-flop on things. The reason why they're going from being anti-Israel, oh, Israel is bad, they caused 9/11, to saying, oh, we support Israel because Donald Trump supports Israel. It's not because they're controlled by Jews or the NWO or whatever. However, I think Jones and Watson being reptilians is a possibility. It's because they see their audience changing and they're going to change themselves so they can continue to exploit their audience. So you're not defending free speech when you defend Alex Jones, Sargon. All you're doing is enabling a scam artist to continue scamming people and who will continue saying outrageous stuff, defaming other people and companies, just saying anything that'll get him attention and trick people into buying his crap, like male enhancement products that don't work, pills filled with GMO-enhanced soy and lead, and other shit nobody needs. Yeah, I don't need any alt-right comics. I got Garfield and furry zines. I'm pretty happy with these. It's also foolish of you, Sargon, to look at President Trump as some savior of free speech.
Looks like Donald Trump's joining the free speech movement. Exclusive at Reuters. Trump says it's dangerous for Twitter and Facebook to ban accounts.
When if you knew anything about Donald Trump's history, you'd know that he's a sworn enemy of free speech. You might have heard about how Donald Trump tried to sue Bill Maher over a joke, but there's many more examples. And unlike the defamation suits against Alex Jones, the ones Trump filed were all frivolous. For example, threatening to sue an architecture critic because he called Donald Trump's plan to construct the world's tallest building ugly. He also tried to sue Timothy O'Brien for saying that he wasn't a billionaire in his book Trump Nation. This is a lawsuit that Trump lost bigly and ended up having to admit to 30 different lies. Yep. Timothy O'Brien stumped the Trump. For more examples, see the Trump libel clock or the article Trump is a libel lawsuit bully. And I highly doubt Donald Trump genuinely cares for Alex Jones. I mean, they may talk on the phone every once in a while, but I bet Trump is doing that just to make sure Jones stays loyal to him. Is Donald Trump ever going to do something like reveal the evidence 9/11 was an inside job or anything else that would verify Jones's conspiracies? Nope. Alex Jones and InfoWars are just a means to an end for Donald Trump. If there ever comes a day that Alex Jones decides to dump Trump entirely...
I'm not in a fucking cult for Donald Trump. Fuck him. Fuck his family. Fuck all these people.
Mark my words, Donald Trump is going to throw Jones under the bus, just like how he's thrown tons of allies under the bus when they turned on him. At the end of Sargon's And Then They Came for Alex Jones video, he plays a brief clip of Christopher Hitchens talking about free speech and how important it is to listen to opposing viewpoints.
It's not just the right of the person who speaks to be heard. It is the right of everyone in the audience to listen and to hear. And every time you silence somebody, you make yourself a prisoner of your own action because you deny yourself the right to hear something.
However, Hitchens didn't always practice what he preached. Here's a clip of him from 2007 not wanting to listen to a 9/11 truther.
Hold it right there.
No. Yeah, that's not right.
Being that any
Wasting your time.
Being that any member of Al-Qaeda had no motive to anthrax the leading opponents of the Patriot Act.
Wasting your time. I'm not going to answer you.
Why won't you answer?
You can speak.
So here's the question.
You can
Being
speak.
that you are an intellectual and now that
you can speak, I'm not bothering with you.
And in another clip from 2007, here he is calling a person talking about conspiracies a fascist crackpot.
I'll be very brief. It's
No.
important.
No, it's okay.
Go away. Go away. Go away. We don't want fascist crackpots taking up our meeting. Thank you. Go away. Go away.
Different panel.
Fascist crackpot.
Different.
Fascist crackpot.
Different
We're here.
panel.
We're not here to talk to you. Throw him out.
Sir.
throw him out.
So even Christopher Hitchens didn't believe in giving everyone an unrestricted platform. And neither does Sargon, since he once made a petition to ban social justice courses from colleges. Now I want to make one last point about Sargon. If you've ever watched any anti-feminists on YouTube, you've probably seen them make videos about how the whole listen and believe concept is flawed and how dangerous false rape accusations are. And Sargon made a video about this, This Week in Stupid video, back in July, talking about a BuzzFeed article about false rape accusers that get thrown in jail.
Vulnerable women are routinely prosecuted and imprisoned for false rape claims in the UK. Good. Anyone who makes a false claim should be punished, because what they're doing is trying to ruin someone else for their own benefit. Accusing someone of rape when they didn't rape you is one of the worst things you can do to an innocent person. It means that their life is ruined just on the power of the accusation. And then to try and get that person jailed for decades, potentially, on the basis of your lie, yeah, that's something that is definitely something you should go to jail for.
So let's think about this. Alex Jones has falsely accused Hillary Clinton and Robert Mueller of being pedophiles. And since pedophilia is child rape, that means Alex Jones is a false rape accuser. And what do you say should happen to false rape accusers, Sargon?
Anyone who makes a false claim should be punished.
So, Sargon, you're defending a false rape accuser despite how, by your standards, Alex Jones should be in jail. Do you think if Anita Sarkeesian did something like this, like she was going around falsely accusing her enemies of being rapists or pedophiles, and then she got kicked off YouTube, do you think Sargon and all his friends would be like, oh my gosh, we need to defend Anita's free speech. If they can go after her, they can go after us next? No, I highly doubt that. So, Sargon, you're a hypocrite. So anyway, I want to wish Sargon good luck in UKIP. I mean, you're really going to need it. I just heard that leaked audio where a UKIP member dresses you down and tells you you're acting way too silly online, and you're not actually doing anything that'll get UKIP more votes. And I also want to wish you good luck in your war against Mr. Medicare. I mean, really, Sargon? You should have thought twice before you decide to go after someone who's like Encyclopedia Dramatica incarnate on YouTube. I think that's all I have to say. The next video I'm planning is going to be more fun. It'll be another Garfield video, as usual. Peter the Cat here. Bye, everybody, and if you'd like to do more research or you want to, correct a mistake I made, here's the sources I used.
Alex Jones doesn't even swear.
I'm not against kitty cats. Okay, I love them. They're great folks. But Peter looks like the archetypal cocksucker with those little deer-in-the-headlight eyes and all his Garfield dolls. And there's something about this furry hopping around, bossing everybody around, trying to intimidate people like me and you. I want to tell Peter the Cat and all the rest of them, hey, listen, asshole. Quit saying Roger and I I've never used cussing in 22 years, but the gloves are off. Listen, you son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem? You want to sit here and say that I'm a goddamn fucking reptilian? You get in my face with that, I'll beat your goddamn ass, you son of a bitch. You piece of shit. You fucking goddamn fucker. Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Get that through your goddamn fucking head. Stop pushing your shit. You're the furry that has fucked this country over and gang raped the shit out of it and lost an election. So stop shooting your mouth off claiming I'm the human lizard. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch? Fill your hand. I'm sorry, but I'm done. You start calling me a reptilian? Those are fucking fighting words. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't think I have ever been in a campaign in which we disparage the
extraterrestrial origin
of our opponents. Now, I'm not going to go there. But I think
Peter the Cat
has acted irresponsibly, and I think he needs to be confronted with
He's sucking globalist dick.
Honestly, Alex Jones, as far as I can tell, most people just consider him to be a meme.
I was watching a Joe Rogan clip while I was on the elliptical yesterday. Love Joe. And he had that Sargon of a cod guy on who's very entertaining and funny.
Sargon of a cod guy.
Because someone has a British accent or whatever it is, it becomes a big joke, you see. I want to get the Sargon guy on. I think he's entertaining. I think he's a smart guy, but...
Sargon guy.
Oh my god, this fucking triggered me. This really fucking pissed me off. Fuck! Fuck you! Fuck you! Alex Jones, fuck off!
God fucking damn it, man. What the fuck? Is there nobody fucking pure in this goddamn fucking world? See, now I'm fucking pissed right now.